All right, thank you for joining us for our Beach Reads Book Buzz. We're here today to share some of our books that we think are quick and fun or so intricately plotted that you're going to be able to breeze right through them while you're lounging in the sun this summer. So we're going to start off with some young adult titles. If you don't often read young adult, these aren't just for teens anymore. A lot of adults really enjoy these books. And so I decided to begin with a few that are movie and TV tie-ins. The first is called Slayer. And I know when I read those words, into every generation a Slayer is born, I immediately want to go and grab my Buffy DVD box set and start watching the whole series, because I still have my box set. I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And so this is the start of a new book series. Buffy is not in this. This is a new Slayer, Nina. And she's actually the child of a Watcher. Buffy fans know these are the people that kind of watch over the Slayers. Nina's father was Buffy's Watcher in the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie. And he died. So obviously Nina doesn't like Buffy. She doesn't like Slayers very much in general. She's more into learning medicine and healing and all that jazz. The book takes place at around the end of the series when Buffy is fighting the first evil. And at some point, apparently after this happens, Buffy does something that kills magic and makes Nina the final Slayer. And that is where this book kind of begins. Obviously, since Nina hates Slayer, she has a lot to deal with. So we have this book in the print collection, and it's the first in the series. We also have some Buffy graphic novels as well. For the Disney fans, this is the Twisted Tales series. And this kind of asks, what if, for some of your favorite fairy tales? So what if Anna and Elsa never knew each other? What if Cinderella didn't try on the glass slipper? What if Mulan had to travel to the underworld? Or if Sleeping Beauty never woke up and she was trapped in a nightmare? This is for everyone who likes these tales and just likes to take a spin on the dark side of the fairy tale. It's a Disney-inspired series, a classic hero story, but reimagined so that's a darker fantasy adventure. So if you just can't get enough Disney, I think you're going to enjoy these. In the Hall with the Knife. So I have to admit, I'm a huge Clue fan, so it's the movie and the game. I think I can still recite every line to the movie Clue. And I love that in this book there's even a few little nods to the movie as well. So in this book, when a storm strikes Blackbrook Academy, an elite prep school nestled in the woods of Maine, a motley crew of students, who of course are named after the classic characters, are left stranded on campus with their headmaster. Of course, Headmaster Body. Hours later, he is found dead in the conservatory, and it's clear his death was no suicide. With this group of students who are hiding something, nothing is as it seems, and everyone has a motive for murder. This one, it's a classic whodunit. It kept me guessing the whole time. It's the first in a duology, but the murder is solved in the first book. If you want to know all the secrets to the students' backstories, that's where you have to go on to the second book. Riverdale and the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Fortunately, Sabrina found out it was just canceled, and I'm very sad. If you haven't watched it, it's on Netflix. And just like Riverdale, it's a very dark reimagining of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And I only recently knew that these two series were interrelated. So these books tie into the shows. The Day Before is a prequel to season 1 of Riverdale. It's why did Jughead and Archie have a falling out? What did Veronica's life look like in New York? And how long has Betty really been in love with Archie? Told from multiple viewpoints, your favorite characters tell their story their way. Get Out of Town takes place after Archie has been framed for murder by Hiram Lodge. And obviously the gang knows that he didn't do it. They know that that Hiram has gotten his hands all messed up in this. And so they decide they want to prove he's innocent. So they go back to Shadow Lake, to Lodge Cabin, to try to prove it. Will the teens find the evidence they need to clear Archie's name? And more importantly, will they make it back to Riverdale alive? The final Riverdale book is Maple Murders, and this is an original tale not based on the TV show. Riverdale is clamoring with excitement over news that an old town tradition is steadily being revived, the Riverdale Revels. The Revels supposedly has a long history dating back to the town's founding and the first successful maple tapping, but there's no record of the Revels anywhere. So obviously, Archie, Betty, Veronica, and Jughead think that's strange. It's even more strange when a skeleton is uncovered in a 75-year-old time capsule. That's unusual. Well, maybe not so unusual in Riverdale. A dead body in a maple barrel isn't the only drama around the Revels. The Royal Maple Pageant is in full swing, and accidents keep befalling the contestants. Someone is clearly trying to put an end to the Revels once and for all. Can Archie and his friends put a stop to the sabotage before someone puts a stop to them? And Season of the Witch is a prequel to the Sabrina series on Netflix. This is the summer before her 16th birthday. She knows that she is going to have to sign the Book of the Beast soon. For anyone who hasn't watched the series, this is much darker than Sabrina the Teenage Witch. There is no really good witch scenario going on here. She's definitely, Book of the Beast signing kind of witch. So, she likes using magic, and she decides with her cousin to use a spell to find out if her boyfriend Harvey really loves her. But it goes awry, unfortunately, for Harvey. And she starts to struggle with the idea of magic, if the power is appropriate, if it's something that she should use or if it harms people. And so if you watch the series, you'll kind of see that mindset in the first season as well. So it kind of sets you up to begin the series. And this is also available as an ebook on Cloud Library and Overdrive. All right, with The Fire on High. I love this author. Her first book, The Poet X, won the National Book Award. And this book, as you can see, is also winning some awards as well. And it's about a young woman, Amoni Santiago, and she's in high school. She has a kid, and she's struggling with lack of time and money and her desire to be a chef. And she thinks that with a kid, she has no future, even though she really wants to work in a professional kitchen, that it's not really a dream that is for her. She is living with her grandmother because her mother died of childbirth. Her father is absent. He couldn't take the idea of just being a single parent, and so he lives in Puerto Rico. And there's 3 things I love about this book. It's family, food, and it's Philly. It takes place in Philly, and it's very Philly-centric. The story between Amoni and her grandmother is beautiful. For anyone who had a great relationship with their grandparents, you're going to love it. And the food. She's a chef, and there are fun little recipes scattered at the beginning of chapters. And even when she describes the cooking, you can feel like you're in the kitchen. This book is inspiring. It's fun to read, and it's really a feel-good read. And it's also available in ebook. The Thousandth Floor. New York City, as you've never seen it before, a 1,000-story tower stretching into the sky, a glittering vision of the future where anything is possible if you want it enough. Welcome to Manhattan, 2118. I love the idea of a building with 1,000 floors. I would never, ever step into it, though. So, of course, in this building, the richer you are, the higher up you are in the building. And this one starts out with a young girl, a young woman, plummeting out of the top of the building. And then it goes back to find out who this is and why she either fell or was pushed. The cast of characters are a girl who lives in the penthouse and her wealthy friends and party boys and their assistants. There's lots of parties, there's fashion, there's drugs. As you can see, this is a Gossip Girl kind of book. And it is the first in a trilogy. The Last True Poets of the Sea. This one is a debut that just kind of came out of nowhere and just shocked everyone. You can see it has 5-star reviews. The writing is gorgeous. It's about a family who has fallen on tough times. There's 2 siblings, Violet and Sam. And Sam recently tried to kill himself. Violet is a party girl, and she keeps hooking up with lots of men. So Violet's parents put Sam into recovery, and Violet gets shipped off to Lyric, Maine, which is a small town on the coast of Maine, founded by their ancestors after their great something grandma survived a shipwreck off the coast. The only survivor came to shore, fell in love, and founded this town. So while she's there, she decides she wants to learn more about her family history, and she wants to learn more about the shipwreck. And she also wants to reinvent herself. She ends up making friends, meeting a girl, and really just kind of becoming her own person. And it's really a touching story for dealing with grief, and how it really impacted her whole family. I found myself loving her and her friends and everyone in the story. I was just cheering for everyone. We have this ebook on the Cloud Library. The Selection Series. This book was getting checked out a lot by teens in our library. So the whole series. So I decided I had to read the first book to see what everyone was talking about. And it was so much fun. You can see here on the slide that it says a cross between the Hunger Games minus the blood sport and The Bachelor minus the blood sport. And that seems pretty accurate. This is a very safe series. Definitely kind of a mother-daughter thing that you could read together. This is a future America, and now there is a monarchy, and the prince has to choose a bride. So they select 35 young women to potentially be that bride. And these girls all come from different castes because they're on a caste system. So America's really not interested in it. She's in love with a boy from a lower caste. That's really all she wants to do is just marry him. But then she meets the prince, and she's like, well, he's kind of interesting. Maybe I'll get to know him a little better. And so she kind of sticks with it. She meets the other girls, meets the prince, and also learns a lot about her country because there are some rebel attacks happening. And And then she also gets to teach the prince about the country that he doesn't get to see from the lofty palace that he lives in. All the rebel attacks, all of the violence that's taking place in the country happens off page. Whenever it happens, all of the girls and the prince and everyone, they're all taken to a safe spot. So you don't have to worry about any kind of violence. This is a clean book and very fun. And the ebooks are available on Cloud Library, Overdrive, and Hoopla. Most likely. All right, so in 2049, as the President of the United States waits to be sworn in, she reflects on senior year in high school when she and her 3 dear friends vied for the attention of the future first gentleman. The 4 girls have been friends since they were in kindergarten, and in their senior year, they're facing their biggest fears about growing up and growing apart. The mystery here is that you don't know which girl is going to be president. And so they each have their own unique personalities. And what I think I love most about this is this quote here. This is the story of 4 best friends who have one another's back through every new love, breakup, stumble, and success, proving that great friendships can help young women achieve anything, even a seat in the Oval Office. And I think that's very true. And this ebook is available on Cloud Library. We Hunt the Flame. For anyone who's looking for a good fantasy novel with some amazing world building, this is going to be the book for you. You can see that it has 4-star reviews, and it's on a lot of lists. Amazon Best Book of the Month, BuzzFeed, YA Books, It's really a stunning book. In a world inspired by ancient Arabia, 17-year-old huntress Saphira must disguise herself as a man to seek a lost artifact that could return magic to her cursed world. And basically, she lives in kind of like a district of this country that the whole country's cursed, and in her district it's cursed with snow, and also part of this cursed forest called the R's. And no one can go in there without becoming kind of, I would say demented almost. They lose all sense of time and space. But it doesn't bother her. So she goes in to bring food back to the people around her. Since it's always snowy in winter, it's hard for them to get food. But she has to disguise herself as a man because in her district, women are looked down upon. The other main character is Nazir, who is the prince and also an assassin for his father, the Sultan. And really, both of these characters are hiding something because Saphira is obviously hiding that she's a woman, and Nazir is hiding that he really does not want to kill people. He has a kind heart. And so when Saphira gets called onto her quest for this artifact, Nazir is on the quest to find the artifact and kill her. Obviously, you know how these things work out. So I'll just leave that there. But this is the first in a duology. And the ebook is available on Cloud Library. On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. She wrote The Hate You Give. This book has won 5 stars. It's really stunning. I listened to the audiobook, which was amazing, on Hoopla. And if you like audiobooks, I would definitely recommend it. Bree is the daughter of an underground rapper who was shot right before he made big time, and she also wants to be a rapper. That's just her goal in life. So she wins her first rap battle, and then she writes a song, and she wrote it while she was angry. She was just angry at things she was seeing around her about injustices, and so it's an angry song. And when it goes viral, people start calling her a thug, and they start seeing her as something that she isn't. But if she wants to be a rapper, and if she wants to make money, because her mother lost her job and then they're having some financial problems, she kind of needs to step into that role. And so she's really trying to deal with like her identity and how the world sees her, and the consequences of her actions. Bree fails a lot. She makes a lot of wrong decisions, and there's a lot of growth there. I think this book is really powerful for the way that it talks about Black youth and how they really have to think about how they act and how they're perceived. And it's really an eye-opener. So I would definitely recommend it. American Royals. I love this. Imagine a world where Meghan Markle is the Queen of the United States of America. So in this book, after the Revolution, people asked Washington to be king, and he said, okay. And so there's still a monarchy in America. And there are 3 siblings. One is about to be the first queen in America. Her younger sister is kind of despair, who doesn't care about anything. And the brother is the teen heartthrob that everyone loves. And they're all trying to deal with their life in the spotlight and how to be a royal and all the scandals that follow. So if you enjoy reading about Kate and William and Meghan and Harry, then I think you'll enjoy this one. And the ebook is on Cloud Library. Stay Sweet. This book, I think what's interesting is that if you see here in the second quote, a rare, enjoyable portrait of a woman-run business. And that's something you don't see in a lot of YA. Summer in Sand Lake isn't complete without a trip to Mead Creamery, the local ice cream stand founded in 1944 by Molly Mead, who started making ice cream to cheer up her lovesick girlfriends while all the boys were away at war. Since then, the stand has been owned and managed exclusively by local girls who inevitably become the best of friends. 17-year-old Amelia and her best friend Kate have worked at the stand every summer for the past 3 years, and Amelia is head girl at the stand this summer. When Molly passes away, before Amelia can even start her first day in charge, Amelia isn't sure the stand can go on. That is until Molly's grandnephew, Grady, shows up and asks Amelia to stay on to help continue the business. But Grady has some changes in mind. Obviously, you can kind of see where the whole Grady and Amelia thing is going to go. But what I like here is what Kirkus says. Amelia possesses the qualities she needs to achieve her goals, but like many girls, lacks the confidence in using them. Watching her evolve is empowering. And a lot of people enjoyed just hearing about the business and kind of keeping up with the successes and failures of it. And one review just said, I felt young again. And I thought, that's the perfect summer read right there. All right, so then we're going to go to adult read with Kathy.
Okay. Well, hi, everybody. And as soon as you enjoy some of the YA titles that Kathy has mentioned, you might want to sample some of the adult titles that I'm going to present. And just in keeping with the beach read themes, I've kind of selected some titles across different genres that you may enjoy already or that you'd like to sample in your leisure reading for the first time. So to kick us off, the first title is Beach Read. It follows a romance writer who no longer believes in love and a literary writer who is stuck in a rut over the course of his writing summer. And what they learn about each other over the course of the summer just might upend everything they believe about happily ever after events. Augustus Everett is an acclaimed author of literary fiction, and January Andrews writes best-selling romance. When she pens a happily ever after ending, he kills off his entire cast. They're polar opposites. In fact, the only thing they have in common is for the next 3 months, they'll be living in neighboring beach houses, broke and bogged down with writer's block. They settle on a deal designed to force them out of their creative ruts. Augustus will spend the summer writing something happy, and January will pen the next great American novel. She'll take him on rom-com field trips, and he'll take her to interview surviving members of a backwoods death cult. Everyone will finish a book, and no one will fall in love, really. As you can see by the cover, kind of a very fun, beachy theme going on, and with lots of great reviews from some of the publications that you can see there. And the bottom quote from Booklist, "This novel will sweep readers off their feet. January's first-person narration is suitably poetic and effervescent. The small-town beach setting is charming, and the romance is achingly swoomy." So can't go wrong there. I love the effervescence of a beach read, so kind of to get us started on the right foot. The next selection I have is A Burning, published in June of 2020. It's a debut novel set in present-day India, and it's a story told from 3 points of view. Siobhan is a Muslim girl from the slums and determined to move up in life, who is accused of executing a terrorist attack on a train because of a careless comment she made on social media. P.T. Sir is an opportunistic gym teacher who hitches his aspirations to a right-wing political party and finds that his own ascent becomes linked to Siobhan's consequential fall. Lovely is an irresistible outcast whose exuberant voice and dreams of glory fill the novel with warmth, hope, and humor, and she also could provide an alibi that would set Siobhan free, but it would cost her everything she holds dear. The author writes with dazzling assurance at a breakneck pace on a complex themes that read as that they might be the components of a thriller, while also mingling themes of class, fate, corruption, justice, and what it feels like for our heroine to face profound obstacles and yet nurture big dreams in a country spinning toward extremism. And it's been called an extraordinary debut. So for those who would like to pick up something by a debut author, takes us a little bit to a foreign setting with lots of timely current themes. A Burning just might be the beach read for you. The next novel on our list is A Shadow Inheritance. It's a spy thriller, and it follows the lead character, Elliot Kane, and he spent the past 15 years managing events overseas that never quite make the newspapers. He is a ghost in his own life and assumes and sheds personalities as each new cover story comes into play. But when the woman he loves, another operative named Joanna Lake, vanishes without a trace in Kazakhstan, he is forced to take center stage in his own life. And Kane's not the only one trying to figure out where Joanna Lake has gone or what she has learned before she's disappeared. And one reviewer wrote of this novel that there's more than enough here to justify a sequel. So if you started on the beach this summer, you might just be able to pick up the further adventures of Elliot Kane next summer. And as you can see, it received a starred review in Kirkus, and the Someday Times named it a crime club star pick. They called it absorbing, superbly written, and likely to stand as one of the best spy novels of the year. So lots of great recommendations. And it is available in our print collection. The next title is The Imperfects by Amy Meyerson. It was published this past spring, and it's a Publishers Weekly summer reads for this year. And as you can see, some really complimentary reviews from both Booklist and Kirkus. The Millers are far from perfect. the estranged siblings, Ashley and Jake, find themselves under one roof for the first time in years when their mysterious, eccentric matriarch Helen passes away. But their lives are about to change for good when they find a secret inheritance hidden among her possessions. It's the Florentine diamond, a 137-carat yellow gemstone that went missing from the Austrian Empire a century ago. And desperate to learn how one of the world's most elusive jewels has ended up in their grandmother's bedroom, they begin investigating her past, only to realize how little they know about this brave, resilient grandmother. And as the Millers race to determine whether they are the rightful heirs to the diamond, they uncover a past more tragic and powerful than they could ever have imagined. And it forever changed their connections to each other. This novel was inspired by the true story of the real, still missing Florentine diamond. So it sounds like if this kind of intrigue and family story with a bit of history all mixed together just might be up your alley for the summer. The next title is Sex and Vanity, and it's by Kevin Kwan, published just in June. He's the author of Crazy Rich Asians and other titles, and many of you may know Crazy Rich Asians from the film adaptation. So this novel follows Lucy Churchill, and on her very first morning on Capri, she sets eyes on George Zhao, and she instantly can't stand him. Fast forward several years, the daughter of an American-born Chinese mother and blue-blooded New York father, Lucy has always pushed aside her Asian self in favor of her white family, and she adamantly denies having feelings for George. But several years later, when George unexpectedly appears in East Hampton, where Lucy is vacationing with her new fiancé, Lucy finds herself drawn to George again. And soon after, Lucy begins to spin a web of deceit that involves her family, her fiancé, the co-op board of her Fifth Avenue apartment, and ultimately herself as she tries mightily to deny George entry into her world and her heart. What makes, I think, Kevin Kwan's writing so kind of fun, it's peppered with decadent food and extravagant fashion. Sex and Vanity is truly a modern love story, but it kind of harkens back a little bit to A Room with a View. It's a brilliant, funny comedy of manners set between two cultures. So lots to recommend. Sex and Vanity. And right now, it's currently available in our Cloud Library ebook collection, and it's on order in our print collection soon to arrive. The next title, certainly a kind of fun, beachy titles, is The Jet Setters. It is a New York Times bestseller. You can see some of the other recommended review sources, a Reese's Book Club selection, an Oprah magazine selection, and Booklist goes on to say that each character's dysfunctions run deep and each plot twist threatens to sink their sanity, resulting in a funny, moving tale of the complications of familial love. So, well, to get started with this novel, 70-year-old Charlotte Perkins submits an essay to a contest to become a jet setter contest because she dreams of reuniting her 3 adult children who are estranged from one another. Of course, she goes on to win the contest, and so the family packs their baggage, both literal and figurative, and spends the next 10 days traveling from Athens to Rome to Barcelona, and finally, and all of these destinations take place through a cruise on an over-the-top ship entitled the Splendido Marveloso. Who wouldn't want to set sail on that ship? Can 4 lost adults find the peace that they've been seeking by reconciling their childhood and coming back together? In the vein of other titles like The Nest and The Vacationers, The Jet Setters is a delicious and intelligent novel about the courage it takes to reveal our true selves, the pleasures and perils of family life, and how we navigate the seas of adulthood. So, while we might not be able to take a cruise this summer ourselves, but we certainly can cruise with the Jet Setters in Amanda Ward's fun novel, and it's available in our print collection. So leaving a little bit these family, kind of comic family novels, I've selected the next novel is called The Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia, just published this month. And it won a rave review in Bookmarks based on 11 reviews. It's also an Amazon Best Book selection for this month. It's currently available in the Cloud Library, and it's on order for our print collection due to arrive next week. So after receiving a frantic letter from her newlywed cousin begging for someone to save her from a mysterious doom, Naomi Taboada heads to High Place, a distant house in the Mexican countryside. She's not sure what she'll find. There she does meet her cousin's husband, a handsome Englishman. He is a stranger, and Noemi knows little about her cousin's family or this new region. Naomi is certainly an unlikely rescuer too. She's a glamorous debutante, more suited to cocktail parties than amateur sleuthing, but she's tough and smart, and with an indomitable will, she's not afraid, not of her cousin's new husband, who is both menacing and alluring, not of his father, and the ancient patriarch who seems to be fascinated by Noemi, and not even of the house itself, which does have a very dominating and sinister presence. This house begins to evade Noemi's dreams with visions of blood and doom. There are many secrets behind the walls of High Place. The family's once colossal wealth and fated mining empire kept them from prying eyes for a long time, but as Noemi digs deeper, she unearths stories of violence and madness. And you're not alone in thinking that this novel has some whispers to Daphne du Maurier and also some other Gothic novels from the past. So it's a plot that I think will certainly keep you up at night. So the next title is Devolution by Max Brooks. It is a blend of, interestingly enough, of horror and satire. And the subtitle is A First-Hand Account of the Rainier Sasquatch Massacre. And you're thinking, my, what is this doing on a beach reads list? But the reviewers assure us there are some quite comic elements as well. As the ash and chaos from Mount Rainier's eruption finally settle, the story of the Green Loop Massacre has passed unnoticed and unexamined until now. The journals of resident Kate Holland, recovered from the town's bloody records, capture a tale too harrowing and too earth-shattering in its implications to be forgotten. In these pages, Max Brooks brings Kate's extraordinary account to light for the first time, faithfully reproducing her words alongside his own extensive investigations into the massacre and the legendary beasts behind it. Kate's is a tale of unexpected strength and resilience, of humanity's defiance in the face of a terrible predator's gaze, and inevitably of savagery and death. So this is part survival narrative, part bloody horror tale, part scientific journey into the boundaries between truth and fiction. And this is a Bigfoot story as only Max Brooks could chronicle it, and like none other you've ever read before. So certainly an interesting blend of elements for the summer. And sometimes the perfect horror tale is just the thing. The next novel is titled In 5 Years by Rebecca Searle. It was published in the spring on Amazon Best Book in March, and Good Morning America, FabFitFun, and Marie Claire Book Club pick. This is kind of a very light but still substantial read, perfect for fans of Me Before You and One Day. It's a striking and powerful, moving love story following an ambitious lawyer who experiences an astonishing vision that could change her life forever. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Danny Cohen lives her life by the numbers. She is nothing like her lifelong best friend, who's wild and whimsical and believes in fate. Danny is meticulous, and her planning has paid off after she nails the most important job interview of her career and accepts her boyfriend's marriage proposal in one fell swoop. And she falls asleep completely content that her life is unfolding as she plans. But when she awakens, she's suddenly in a different apartment with a different ring on her finger and beside a very different man. Danny spends 1 hour exactly in this 5 years future place before she wakes again in her own home on the brink of midnight. But it is 1 hour that she cannot shake. In 5 years is an unforgettable love story, but it is not the one you were expecting. So something a little bit lighter to consider, to be found in both our print, large print, and cloud library ebook collections. And who doesn't, I should say, love a Jane Eyre or Jane Eyre-esque novel? And that's what we can find in this debut selection by Janice Harlow that was published in March of this year. It received, as you can see, many starred reviews from library journals. And in The Guardian, Joe Baker called it an immersive and engaging new version of a familiar world, at once true to the source material and to life. Harlow's great achievement is to shift our sympathies so completely that it's difficult not to race through to the final pages, desperate to know if Mary will, after all, will allow herself a happy ending. And who doesn't love a happy ending, particularly this summer? What if Mary Bennet's life took a different path than the one laid out to her in Pride and Prejudice? What if the frustrated intellectual of the Bennet family, the marginalized middle daughter, the plain girl who takes refuge in her books, eventually found fulfillment enjoyed by her prettier, more confident sisters? Mary's destiny diverges from that of her sisters. It does not involve broad acres or landed gentry. In the other Bennet sister, Mary is a fully rounded character, complex, conflicted, and often uncertain, but also vulnerable, supremely sympathetic, and ultimately the protagonist of an uncommonly satisfying debut novel. So put that one on your list this summer. The next title is for mystery lovers, and it's entitled The Missing American by Kwai Corte. It was published in January of this year. To much acclaim from Booklist, a starred review from the Amazon Best Book of the Month in Mystery, Thriller, and Suspense, and the Washington Post has called it remarkably rare, a gem of a debut. It's awfully nice to be able to preview debut authors on this Beach Reads list for the summer. Accra private investigator Emma DeJohns, this is her first missing persons case and will lead her to the darkest depths of the email scams and fetish priests in Ghana, the world's internet capital. When her dreams of rising through the Accra police ranks, like her late father's, crash all around her, the 26-year-old Emma is unsure what will become of her career. Through a sympathetic former colleague, Emma gets an interview with a private detective agency that takes on missing persons cases, theft, and infidelity. It's not the future she had imagined for herself, but it's her best option at this time. Meanwhile, American Derek Tilson has traveled to Ghana to look for his missing father, a middle-aged widower who he thinks is the victim of an internet scam. So Derek and Emma will team up together and will find themselves deep in a world of online fraud and those willing to kill to protect their secrets. So not only is The Missing American offering up a great mystery, but also foreign travel at the same time. The next title in the list is The Holdout by Graham Moore. It's also following in a little bit of the mystery theme here. It's a legal thriller. And as you can see, with many complimentary reviews listed here from Publishers Weekly and also from Library Journal, both starred reviews. And in The Holdout, it follows a very sensational case. 15-year-old Jessica Silver, heiress to $1 billion real estate fortune, vanishes on her way home from school, and her teacher, Bobby Knopf, a 25-year-old African-American man, is the prime suspect. It's deemed an open and shut case for the prosecution, with a quick conviction seemed all but assured until Maya Searle, a young woman on the jury, convinced of Knox's innocence, persuades the rest of the jurors to return the verdict of not guilty, a controversial decision that will change all their lives forever. And the action after this point flash forwards 10 years, and a true crime docuseries reassembles the jury with particular focus on Maya, now a defense attorney herself. When one of the jurors is found dead in Maya's hotel room, all the evidence points to her as the killer. Now she must prove her own innocence by getting to the bottom of a case that is far from closed, with drastic consequences for all involved. So lots of connections to some themes we see playing out in our own culture. So something that I think that if you like thrillers, particularly of the legal variety, you might really enjoy this title. The next selection is The Survivor Song. It seems like everywhere we look these days, there are recommendations for pandemic literature, and I certainly didn't select this book with that uppermost in my mind, but it does follow along that theme and receive lots of great reviews, and so it got added to the list. In a matter of weeks, Massachusetts had been run over by an insidious rabies-like virus that is spread through saliva. But unlike rabies, the disease has a terrifyingly short incubation period of an hour or less. Those infected quickly lose their minds and are driven to bite and infect as many others as they can before they, too, inevitably succumb. Dr. Ramola Rams Sherman, a soft-spoken pediatrician in her mid-30s, receives a frantic call from Natalie, a friend who is 8 months pregnant and has been infected by the virus. Natalie's only chance of survival is to get to the hospital as quickly as possible to receive a rabies vaccine. The clock is ticking for her and her unborn child. Natalie's fight for life becomes a desperate odyssey as she and Rams make their way through a hostile landscape filled with dangers beyond their worst nightmares. Terrifying, strange, and sometimes deadly challenges push them to the brink. And as you can see from the reviews, a terrifyingly realistic take on the zombies trope, a fast-paced, gritty, emotionally wrenching thriller. So lots to think about with this one. And if you were looking for a propulsive, gripping read, preferably not to be read in the dark, then pick up this title. And as you can see, it's on order in our print collection and currently a Cloud Library ebook selection. The next title is certainly a departure from our past. The last one is Normal People, written by Sally Rooney. I selected it. It was published a little over a year ago with all kinds of accolades. And it's now currently been made into a Hulu original TV series that's also received high marks on Rotten Tomatoes. So I thought if you didn't have a chance last year to pick it up and read, it might go in the beach in your beach bag for this summer, and you might be interested, or you might be interested in taking a peek at the television series. But in Normal People, Connell and Marianne grew up in the same small town, but the similarities end there. At school, Connell is popular and well-liked, while Marianne is a loner. And when the two strike up a conversation, awkward but electrifying, something life-changing happens. A year later, they're both studying at Trinity College in Dublin. Marianne has found her feet in a new social world, while Connell hangs at the sidelines, shy and uncertain. Throughout their years at university, Marianne and Connell circle one another, straying toward other people and possibilities, but always magnetically and irresistibly drawn back together again. Normal People is a story of mutual fascination, friendship, and love. It takes us from that first conversation to the years beyond in the company of two people who try to stay apart but find they can't. So I hope you'll follow the recommendations of the many reviewers that you see listed here and either pick up a copy or turn to the TV series. And now I switch from these fiction entries to just a few nonfiction titles that you might find fun this summer. The first one is Dirt. Adventures in Lyon as chef in training, father and sleuth looking for the secret of French cooking. And I've yet to find out about the title proper, why it's entitled Dirt, but I think that's something that we'll all have to investigate together as we pick up a copy and read it. But this is a hilariously self-deprecating, highly obsessive account of the author's adventures in the world of French haute cuisine. And he is the author of the best-selling and wildly acclaimed as well cooking memoir, Heat. Bill Buford turns his inimitable attention from Italian cuisine to the food of France. Baffled by the language, but convinced that he can master the art of French cooking, or at least get to the bottom of why it is so revered, he begins what becomes a 5-year odyssey by shadowing the esteemed French chef Michel Richard in Washington, D.C. But when Buford quickly realizes that a stage in France is necessary, he goes, this time with his wife and 3-year-old twin sons, to Lyon, the gastronomic capital of France. And with his signature humor, sense of adventure, and masterly ability to immerse himself and us in his surroundings, Bill has written what is sure to be the food lover's book of the year. And with all of us cooking so much these days, it might just be fun to read about this signature chef and his French obsession. The next nonfiction title I have is How to Be Fine by the co-host of the popular By the Book podcast. And I thought this would be super fun because I loved the premise of their podcast and the book, this book that has been derived from the podcast. In the podcast By the Book, Jolenta Greenberg and Kristen Meinsner take a deep dive into a different self-help book, following its specific instructions, rules, and advice to the letter. From diet and productivity to decorating to social interactions, they try it all and record themselves along the way, sharing what they've learned with their devoted and growing audience of fans who tune into the podcast. In the book, How to Be Fine, Jolenta and Christian synthesize the lessons and insights they've learned and share their experience with everyone. How to Be Fine is a thoughtful look at the books and practices that have worked for them, real talk on those self-help books that didn't work, and a list of philosophies they want to see explored in depth. Some of the topics covered in the book include getting off your device, engaging in positive self-talk, downsizing, meditation, going outside, getting in touch with your feelings, and seeing a therapist. It's part memoir, part handbook. It's honest and funny and heartfelt. And so it's kind of like a warm conversation with your closest and smartest friends. So along with the other Beach Reads recommendations, it's fun to have a little self-help along the way. And the last title in this list is Love in the Blitz, the long-lost letters of a brilliant young woman to her beloved on the front. It received starred reviews in Library Journal and Publishers Weekly. It was published just this past May. It's in our Cloud Library ebook collection, and it's on order in our print collection. And this book here and the letters contained within were written, the letters were written, that is, over the course of World War II. And Eileen's letters, the protagonist of this nonfiction title, provide a vivid and personal glimpse of this historic World War II era. Throughout the turmoil and bloodshed of this time, one thing remains constant: her beloved Gershon, who remains a source of strength and support even after he too joins the fighting. Though his letters have been lost to time, her letters, which demonstrate her love for him, are certainly illuminating. And further on, a little bit of backstory about Eileen Alexander. On July 17th, 1939, she was a bright young woman who had recently graduated from Girton College, Cambridge, and she began a brilliant correspondence with her fellow Cambridge student, Gershon Elgerbogen, and that lasted 5 years and spans many hundreds of letters taking place during this pivotal time. So if you love history and want to explore letter writing, this just might be a great read for you. It is certainly heartrending and heartwarming, a personal story of life and resilience amid the terror of war. So that's the adult list of our Beach Read selection this July. We hope to see you at the library over the next month. And if any of these titles on the YA list or the adult list appeals to you, certainly you may borrow them either through Cloud Library or place holds on them here at the library, or certainly communicate with us, stop by or email us, and we'd be happy to set you up with any of these titles. So I don't know, Kathy, do you have anything more that you'd like to say?
Nope. Just thank you for watching, and we hope to see you at the library.
Thanks.